Uh, Willkommen, bienvenue. Welcome once again to another live stream. The sharper-eyed amongst you will notice a Hamish McLay of Searching and Ray, who is my Lord Master on these streams. But of course, we have a special guest here of Tim Main on this, the Property Matters podcast. And as is traditional on this, we talk about all matters appertaining to the property market, changes, moves, and things that perhaps aren't always discussed about. Today's topic is paper trails or digital paths. What's actually best for UK sales? And as is traditional, I'm throwing Hamish mercilessly under the bus.
Well, good afternoon. I don't know quite what it's like with you. Oxfordshire. Glorious, glorious sunshine here. And on this fortuitous day, we are fortunate indeed to have with us Tim, who hasn't joined us before on our podcast. But we do hope he'll come back and sort of spend a bit of time with us further on down the road, because this is an ongoing matter. It is an important one and gets spoken about a great deal, particularly by people like the Digital Property Market Steering Group, the DPMSG. I think they stuck a name in the end of it. I can't remember. They keep changing. But whatever it is, people like this are trying to push us forward into digitising everything. Now, unfortunately, they're doing a bit of overkill, as we well know. There are certain aspects which really they are not going to be able to sort of remove, and is solicitors. And the sad thing is, what we have, the Law Society should be representing their particular teams, their legal teams, particularly their property sort of lawyers. In effect, went about. Well, crikey, it must have been about a year ago, I think, when they decided, all right, we're going to have this new form we're going to fill in. You're going to fill in this new form. And of course, we know, because they've been with the, if you like, the DPMSG, all into digitising everything that we can possibly do, that they bring in a new digitised form. No. They've extended the size of the form. It's 32 pages. You're expected to download it at whatever it costs to actually sort of do it and sort of fill it in manually. Then how do you get it to your solicitor? I mean, if it's anything like what I was doing the other day, the whole idea, what was suggested then was that basically you scan it in. Can you imagine how long it's going to take to do all this bloody daftness? Now, Tim, however, has better ideas.
Well, Tim, what do you think?
Hamish, I'm going to question you on better ideas, but different ideas.
Quite right.
And I think there is a general misunderstanding about what digital is and digitising the current process and all the rest. And
I thought digital meant using your digits, your fingers.
No? I mean, surely, actually emailing you a PDF could be argued to be digital.
It is digital,
as opposed to using the snail mail. But I think the big thing for the future is actually being able to put these forms into data. And that's the big difference. So some of the work that has gone on behind the scenes came out of the Home Buying and Selling Group, chaired by Kate. And Kate Faulkner. And so what they did under Maria Harris is they have gone through the process, identified all the fields required from the forms, such as the property information forms, and I'm going to use a generic name for those rather than the TA6s and the TA10s and the TA7s and the BASPs and all the rest. They've gone through them all, and I can't remember, it's 170 fields or whatever it is, but they've named them. So what it does mean is if anyone completes any of these forms digitally now, we can then transfer that information as data to the next person. Now, the honest answer is yes, we've gone away, as a number of people have, and we've printed out these we've created these forms, and we've almost got to think of a better word for a form online, because it's not a form as we know it. It's not a paper form with 3 pages or whatever. So we've digitized this process. And in the future, when there are conveyancing firms ready to receive that information as data, we will be able to transfer it as data. Press of a button, it's done. Not scanning in and all the rest, as in Hamish's example of printing out a PDF. And so we've got to that stage. Can anyone receive our data at the moment? We haven't had any requests for it, but it's nice to know that as we slowly do it, we're all basing it off the Property Data Trust framework. And so we will be talking a common language when we can all start to talk to each other.
Now, Tim, I'm feeling a bit mischievous today, and that usually means some left field questions. So apologies for this in advance. Surely, if we digitize everything, that's going to mean that we need to be digitizing it at home and turning it to data at home or where our home base is, and that should end up. Otherwise, you're going to end up putting the overhead of converting it into something that's useful and interrogatable onto you.
Not really. So, I mean, take our forms, for example. Anyone can go to our site, they open a data room, they pay their £25 to get digital forms and land registry copies back and that sort of thing. And then once they put in their, answers to the property information form, it is digitized, full stop. So there's no great onus on it. Now, I'm a great believer in, am I expecting everything to come in that format? No. So somebody at home will have their fencer certificate, for instance, and I think fencer certificates are a great example. The other one I use is damp-proof guarantees. That guarantee is probably being written out in the back of the van when they're on site on a piece of paper and handed to the seller.
On the back of an envelope. Yes, go on.
That document doesn't exist anywhere else. There is no central registration yet of fencer agreements. There's no central reservation of those, central database, dare I call it a database, of those damp-proof guarantees. And so the only person who can find those or put those up is the seller. Bearing in mind we're focused on residential sales. And so what we've done is we've said to people, look, the future will be the future, but at the moment, all we're trying to do is we provide a data room into which any information can go, and this can be opened by the seller or by the agent. In fact, the solicitor and the buyer can open it if they really want to. And then it's and Ed Mead, who's a great supporter of ours, always used to refer it as a bucket. It's just a simple bucket into which information can go. And then as agents, they can promote that link to their potential buyers, so buyers can see this information before they offer.
Do you mean repository, perhaps?
I'm very
bucket sounds
very
like
unsure I get into a problem with those sort of words because I usually say the wrong one. So let's just stick to a bucket because I think we all know what we mean by a bucket.
Yeah, but also the trouble with buckets, it's got certain associations with tents and being caught in a thunderstorm. Anyway, moving quickly on. So it's basically you're saying we should attempt to shove everything in this bucket that we can that are pertaining to the sale. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I did when we were selling our house, and I hasten to add, do as I say, not as I do in this instance, because I had actually exchanged contracts for the purchase of my next house, and I hadn't got around to selling my previous one. I had negotiated a 3-month delayed completion. So I had a little window. And so I put all the information. And in fact, there I was. I actually went out to multiple agencies because I'd just been practicing in an area, and that's where I was selling my house. I wasn't practicing anymore. So I went to a number of friends and I said, look, first past the post, I've got a gun to my head. If someone can sell it quickly, I'll pay you some money. Simple as that. And I did the brochure myself. I did the floor plans, EPCs, everything, photos, professional photos, the lot. And I put them all in this data room. And I just said to anyone, if you've got a buyer, give them this link. They can come around and view it. And if they can offer me to meet on my terms, I'll do a deal. If not, we'll have to go to the market in a month or two's time and sell the job properly, supposedly properly. And it was fascinating watching the buyers who were keener used to keep, even though we notify people if there's any more documents added to this document room or data room. but the buyers kept coming back, and the keener ones, and the 3 people who came to view came many, many times to the site, which the agent can see how many times each one comes and which documents they look at. And so when my buyer came forward, I was confident that they were genuinely interested. And because I said to the agents, I don't want anyone to view unless they've gone to see these documents, such as no fence certificate. And I use that as an example because the buyer who bought the house loved the windows, and we'd replaced all of them bar 3 that were still to be done. And actually on the viewing, all they were asking about is the person still around? Are they still trading? Because they'd like to get them made by the same person to finish off. And we said, yes, but remember, there is no fencer certificate. They've been handmade by such and such a joiner. And I know she went to see them and ordered 3 more immediately, but there's no fencer certificate. 3 times their solicitor, despite the form in the document room saying there are no fencer certificates, they do not exist. 3 times their solicitor asked us for the fencer agreements.
So doesn't that show that it needs all sides to understand the process?
Well, it does, and I think something that Hamish mentioned just then is very true. Agents and solicitors, for some reason, will never see eye to eye, it seems. Yeah, solicitors can't understand how much agents charge for this, for their skills in the sales process, and because they're on a risk basis, aren't they? Yeah. So you can do lots and lots of work and get nothing, and sometimes you make one phone call and you get paid quite well.
They have a lot of skin in the game.
Whereas solicitors, they like to get paid by the hour. They're completely different sorts of people and things. And the two will never mix, unfortunately. It's sad because they should be working hand in glove, but they're not. And so to me, what the process we're trying to achieve is will it all be absolutely digital in the true definition of digital? No. And data changing hands, not immediately. But what we're trying to do is say to everybody, why not have one place where that information gets stored, so that when a deal's agreed, a sale's agreed, the buyer and the buyer's solicitor have got all this information in one place. What we're trying to do is take the admin out of the process for the buyer's solicitor by doing this, because all the information's and the seller's solicitor, because it's all in one place. We are never going to be conveyancers, and conveyancing will still be required, but surely a conveyancer should be wanting to do the clever stuff, which is actually the conveying, not the admin of collecting all the data together.
No, I agree with you. But Hamish, I remember you and I had a discussion not that long ago about how in your line of work, which is data gathering, which is research, which is finding out all the information in advance of a sale, perhaps, that digitising, or the half-assed version thereof, has actually slowed down or reduced efficacy, because you often have to go past it and then get personal and get digging deep anyway, as you ever did anyway.
Well, only to a certain extent. I mean, what we have, and I think why this works so effectively, and why I like to speak to Tim about this, because we have a bucket there, or whatever kind of Tory it was. Certainly wasn't a Tory, but anyway,
a trustworthy Tory, as if one of those exists. A repository.
All right. But we have this bucket, and we go out and we get our information, and where does it go? And exactly into that data room that the client's already obtained through Tim. So that information goes in there. Is that important? Sometimes it's considered to be upfront information. Sometimes some people like it early on, but it doesn't matter what time it goes in there. It is there along with all the other information that Tim's already put there together. That's already a PDF document. It doesn't need to be sort of any other way because we automatically supply it that way. So in actual fact, it does speed everything up because we're not sending it somewhere else. It can go straight into that particular receptacle to go with all the other information that's required. It does make it so much tidier. Instead of having there, when I first started speaking about this, the whole sort of concept of the good old sort of filing cabinet. I mean, you think of the filing cabinet's no longer required. Effectively, we've got a digital cabinet, cabinet to actually sort of hold all of this information. So it saves one heck of a lot of space. it does actually save time. And if it's going through the right people, and like Tim was suggesting, if we have the right solicitors that we're working with, and we can work with them, we do have a choice of solicitor who we work with. So providing the person is actually working with the right estate agent, they're working with the right way. As Tim said, there's so many different ways this can actually be done. But if we're conducting it the way Tim is suggesting, we're putting it together in a position that each of the people involved can add to it until the whole thing's complete there and the solicitor has the information to hand.
Well, look, I tell you what, Tim, it's been an education. I didn't realize that that such buckets existed. It does seem logical. I mean, I've been using Google Drive for years with my clients, and having a single place where we put all the information we're working on just makes obvious sense. Why this sort of facility isn't dynamically available for this sort of thing before you came along and put your stake in the sand, I don't know. Hamish, thank you so much for putting together such an excellent Property Matters today. And to all of you watching, please do follow us. We are here weekly. If you can see that we also promote WigiWam, something that Tim is very much keen on, and of course Hamish as well. WigiWam is like LinkedIn without all the faff. It's without the ads, and also without all the algorithm trying to force us down paths we don't necessarily want to go down. I would ask you all to check it out, and if you just use the QR code at the top, you'll go straight there. Thank you so much, both of you, for attending today, and to everybody out there. There is good stuff coming. Tim's just the tip of the iceberg, I would hesitate to say. Tim, I hope you'll come back again for a future episode.
Look forward to updating you soon.
No, lovely. And to the rest of you, please keep your feet on the ground. Keep reaching for the stars, but please do look after that mental health. Bye-bye now.